Hey everyone. Today, we're going to decode the blueprints of our digital world. Yep, we're talking about cloud architecture diagrams. We're going to learn how to read the maps that power pretty much every app you use, making sense of these super complex systems that are hiding behind your simple clicks. Okay, let's just get this out of the way. When you see a picture like this, does your brain just stop? It looks like a chaotic mess of boxes, lines, and weird icons. If you're thinking this looks like total gibberish, well, you're in the right place. And you are definitely not alone. This stuff can look incredibly intimidating at first. But here's the secret. It's not chaos. Not at all. It's actually a visual language that tells a story. And the best part? You don't need to be some senior architect to get it. In this explainer, we're going to give you the basic grammar and the vocabulary you need to start speaking this language. So before we dive into specific brand names like AWS or Google, we've got to understand the universal concepts that tie them all together. It's kind of like learning what a noun and a verb are before you try to tackle a whole new language. These core ideas, they apply everywhere. The first big concept is layers. Almost every system is organized into these horizontal tiers to keep things, well, organized. The easiest way to think about it is like the floors of a building. You've got a web layer, that's the lobby where users enter. Then there's an application layer. Those are the offices upstairs where the actual work gets done. And finally, a data layer. Think of that as the secure vault down in the basement. This separation isn't just for looks, it's absolutely crucial for security and for growing the system later on. It lets you update one floor without having to rebuild the entire building. Next up, components. So if layers are the floors of our building, then components are all the furniture and equipment on each floor. These are the individual icons you see on the diagram. The servers, the databases, the load balancers, they're basically the nouns of our new language. They're the specific tools that do a specific job. And rounding out our big three, we've got data flows. These are all the lines and arrows that connect the components together. So if components are the nouns, then you can probably guess data flows are the verbs. They show the action. They show how information moves from a user to a server to a database and all the way back again. The arrows are what tell the story. All right. Theory's great and all, but let's actually see this stuff in action. We're going to use those three concepts, layers, components, and data flows, to build out a diagram for a simple web app, piece by piece. You'll see just how logical it all is when you see it built from the ground up. Here it is. This is your simple three-step playbook for decoding any diagram out there, no matter how complicated it looks. Just always start right here. First, find the user. That's where the whole story begins. Second, spot the different layers to get the lay of the land. And third, just follow the arrows to trace the data's journey. That's it. Simple, right? Okay, step one, find the user. A request from a user, on their laptop or phone, is our starting point. But it doesn't just go straight to one server. Nope. First, it hits something called a load balancer. Just think of this thing as a traffic cop, directing all the incoming requests to make sure that no single server gets totally overwhelmed. So from our traffic cop, the request gets sent over to a web server. This component lives in that middle application layer we talked about, and really it's the brains of the whole operation. It figures out what the user wants and does all the heavy lifting. And here's the last piece of our little story. That web server, it needs information, right? So it talks to a database, which lives down in the data layer. It either pulls information out, like your user profile, or it writes new information in, like a comment you just posted. And that interaction completes the basic flow. See? It's just a logical story. Okay, so we've learned the universal grammar. Now it's time to learn a few of the different dialects. The big cloud providers, we're talking Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform. They all have these same kinds of components. They just call them different things and, of course, give them different icons. Think of this table as our handy translation guide. That generic web server we just built our app with, well, on AWS, it's called an EC2 instance. On Azure, it's a virtual machine, and on Google, it's compute engine. And you can see it's the same exact pattern for databases and load balancers. It's the same job, just with a different name tag. Let's just zoom in on one quick example. On the left, you've got the AWS icon and name for its database service, RDS, and on the right, you've got Google's version, Cloud SQL. They look different, they're named differently, but functionally, they do the exact same thing. So here's the key. Once you understand the concept of a managed database, you'll be able to recognize it anywhere, no matter what logo they slap on it. So there you have it. We've gone from what looked like a complex mess of lines to a structured language that actually tells a story. You now have the fundamental tools to look at one of these diagrams and start to decode it, turning a confusing blueprint into a clear path of action. So let's just recap the essentials real quick. Remember to always look for those three core things: layers, components, and data flows. Always start your analysis with the user and just follow the arrows to see where the story goes. And finally, don't let the branding throw you off. Just remember that each cloud provider has its own little dialect for the same universal concepts. We started with a diagram that looked like complete gibberish, and now you have the key to understanding the architecture of our entire digital world. And this is more than just a technical skill, really. It's like a new form of literacy. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Now that you can read the blueprints, what will you build?